A modern airplane, carrying 239 people, takes off into the night. Everything is normal. The weather is clear. The pilots are experienced. Then, less than an hour later, the aircraft simply disappears. No distress call, no explosion on radar, no wreckage found for years. To this day, the world still asks the same terrifying question: what really happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370? On March 8, 2014, MH370 departed from Kuala Lumpur, heading toward Beijing on what should have been a routine 6-hour flight. Families were asleep. Students were traveling. Crew members were doing their jobs like any other day. No one on board knew they were about to become part of the greatest mystery in aviation history. The plane was a Boeing 777, one of the safest aircraft ever built. It had no known major technical issues. The captain, Zaharie Ahmad Shah, had over 18,000 hours of flying experience. The co-pilot was also well trained. Nothing about this flight suggested danger. 40 minutes after takeoff, the cockpit sent a routine message to air traffic control. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those would become the last confirmed words ever heard from the aircraft. Moments later, something strange happened. The plane's transponder, the device that tells radar systems who and where the aircraft is, was switched off. Suddenly, MH370 became invisible to civilian radar. It was like the plane had vanished into thin air. But military radar picked up something shocking. Continuing toward Beijing, the plane turned around. It flew back across Malaysia, then headed northwest toward the Andaman Sea. This was no small mistake. This was a deliberate change in direction. For the next several hours, the aircraft continued flying. Not toward its destination, but into the middle of nowhere. Satellite data later revealed that MH370 kept sending small automated signals, called handshakes, to a satellite in space. These signals showed the plane was still airborne for almost 6 more hours. That meant one horrifying possibility. The plane was flying on autopilot, with no communication. Possibly with everyone on board unconscious. When MH370 failed to arrive in Beijing, panic began. Air traffic controllers tried to make contact. Nothing. Airlines officials were confused. Families at the airport waited, not knowing their loved ones were already lost. Soon, the largest search operation in aviation history began. 26 countries joined the effort. Ships, aircraft, satellites, and underwater drones scanned massive areas of ocean. The costs reached hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet, for years, nothing was found. Experts determined the plane most likely flew south into the Indian Ocean, one of the most remote and deepest places on Earth. Parts of this ocean are so deep that Mount Everest could fit underwater and still not reach the surface. Then came the human tragedy. Families of passengers waited for answers that never came. Some refused to believe the plane was gone. Others demanded investigations. The emotional pain was beyond imagination. Not knowing is sometimes worse than knowing. Years later, small pieces of debris began washing up on distant shores. A wing part called a flaperon was found on Reunion Island. Other fragments appeared along African coastlines. Tests confirmed they belonged to MH370. The ocean had kept it secret but returned tiny clues. Now the theories began. One theory suggests the pilot may have intentionally diverted the plane. Investigators found a flight path simulation on the captain's home flight simulator that showed a similar route into the Indian Ocean. But there was no clear motive. And no solid proof. Another theory suggests a fire or sudden technical failure could have filled the cabin with smoke, causing hypoxia, lack of oxygen. In such a case, passengers and crew would lose consciousness, and the plane would continue flying until it ran out of fuel. Some people believed in hijacking, but no terrorist group ever claimed responsibility. Others suggested electrical failure or decompression. Each theory explains part of the mystery, but none explain everything. Thin yin. The most accepted conclusion is that MH370 flew until it ran out of fuel and crashed into the southern Indian Ocean, far from any land. But the exact crash site remains unknown. This is what makes MH370 different from every other aviation disaster. We know planes can crash. We know accidents happen. Boeing 777 disappearing without a trace in the modern world. That was never supposed to be possible. The sky gave no answers. The ocean kept the secret. And 239 lives became part of a mystery that may never be solved. MH370 remains a reminder that even in an age of satellites and technology, the world still has dark, unknown places.